Hello everyone, Vincent here and welcome back to another video. Warframe is a looter shooter, so of course there will be a lot of grinding to get materials needed to craft equipment. But of course, materials are scattered all around the solar system and some can only be found on specific planets. To make farming more efficient, you might want to bring a loot frame. Warframes that can increase loot drop from enemies. As of writing the script, there are currently 5 Warframes that can increase the amount of loot an enemy can drop, and so before we tackle the different loot and the planets where you can efficiently farm them, we're going to talk about one specific Warframe that should be able to help you tremendously in collecting loot. This Warframe, as you might have already known from the title, is Nekros. Unfortunately, Nekros Prime is already vaulted and getting the normal variant of Nekros is a bit tedious as you need to fight Lephantis on Deimos. Deimos was originally the Orokin Derelict, and the change to Deimos is a good thing since you don't need any Derelict keys to enter the nodes in Deimos. Back when the Orokin Derelict still existed, you needed the specific Derelict keys to enter the respective nodes that they open. Now you only need to clear nodes to unlock every node in Deimos. There isn't any difference between the normal Nekros and Nekros Prime that will affect your farming efficiency. Although of course Nekros Prime looks way cooler than the normal Nekros and sports more health, armor, and energy. Anyways, the reason why we're talking about Nekros among the other 4 loot frames is that he is the most convenient to use to loot. Korra, Atlas, and Hydroid need augments to make them a loot frame, while Ivara is quite slow and her loot ability constantly drains energy. Nekros, on the other hand, is fast and his loot ability, called Desecrate, only drains energy when it's used. We're going to summarize Nekros' skills here. Soul Punch, which deals damage to a single target. Terrify, which makes enemies within range flee in terror while reducing their armor. This also acts as crowd control as well. Desecrate, which gives fallen enemies a chance to drop another loot. And Shadows of the Dead, which allows Nekros to summon the shadow versions of the enemies that he killed. Among these skills, we're going to focus on Desecrate and Shadows of the Dead, and if you're somewhat far into the game, they're augments. Do note that the full build of a tanky Nekros is pretty expensive when it comes to standing, so this may take a while if you are a new player. When you first get Nekros, and assuming that you only have the basic mods, your build should look something like this. With 130% ability efficiency and flow, it will be hard to fully deplete Nekros' energy while Desecrate is active. Once you have access to augment mods either by siding with one faction or trading with another player, you need to replace Streamline with Despoil. Despoil essentially changes Desecrate so that it drains Nekros' health instead of his energy. You don't need to worry about dying as Desecrate also generates health orbs more often than not. You may also want to grab a Shield of Shadows if you have the chance because it will be useful once you have some of the advanced mods that we'll be talking about next. You can put Shield of Shadows now if you want, but it will be hard to maintain the shadows since it's hard to get some energy orbs, unless you have already finished the story quest Second Dream. If you've been doing your daily synthesis target or just generally gaining some standing for Cephal and Cimeris, you should be able to buy one of the mods he's selling, Health Conversion. This mod will give you 450 bonus armor for every health orb that you pick up and can stack up to 3 times. You can easily stack up to 3 with Despoil since the ability uses your health and it generates health orbs that you can pick up. You will also need a mod called Equilibrium which drops from Lephantis, so hope that it drops while you're farming Nekros. Remember when I said that it will be hard to maintain Nekros' shadows? Equilibrium will fix that problem if you pair it with Despoil. Equilibrium gives you energy when you collect a health orb and vice versa. And since the Spoil generates a lot of health orbs, Nekros can gain back all the energy he will be spending summoning the shadows with ease. This is where the Shield of Shadows mod comes into play as it will allow the shadows to receive a portion of the damage that Nekros will take, up to a maximum of 90%. And it will be easy to maintain as well with Equilibrium. Pair it with some ability strength mods and your Nekros should now be tanky enough that you can bring it to sorties. Assuming that you have a teammate or weapon that can kill enemies fast enough to maintain all your buffs. If you are already far into the game, your final build should look something like this. You will obtain Umbral mods once you finish a certain story quest, while Adaptation is a mod that you can acquire as a rotation reward from arbitrations. and it gives your Warframe resistance to damage types that it receives, stacking up to 90%. You can also equip Nekros with Arcane Guardian to give him more armor when he gets hit as well, increasing his tankiness tremendously. This build will make you stay alive on a survival mission until you want to extract. Enemy bodies cut in half with a slash weapon or broken frozen enemy bodies affected by a cold proc will be looted separately by Desecrate. So bringing a fast killing slash weapon like a Guandao or Cronen will significantly increase the loot you will get. The downside of this build is that you are really squishy at the start of every missions and you have a chance to get killed by enemies. But once you get all your buffs going, there's no stopping you from looting the dead. This build is also great for solo players. It's also worth noting that Desecrate doesn't stack with other skills that loot dead bodies. Another Nekros has Desecrate or just a Kubros Retrieve skill. Now that we've talked about the build, let's talk about where to find the specific resources. Each planet has their own dark sector where instead of fighting the faction that's occupying the planet, you will be fighting Infested instead. These dark sectors yield more resources, so it is a good place to farm, especially since Infested generally comes for you directly compared to Grineer or Corpus where they take cover and are slow moving. Please do note that the following are based on personal experience and, as with all things in Warframe, are affected by RNG and luck. For alloy plates, circuits, and Orokin Cells, the best mission node to run is Draco in Ceres. For Argon Crystal, Control Modules, Rubedo, and Ferrite, a Void mission node will yield the best result, especially Argon Crystals since they only spawn on the Void. I made a video talking about Argon Crystals and how to farm them in the Void, which I will be linking down in the description and on the upper right side, so check them out. But you can start by running the low-level capture mission node Hepit to hunt for them by looking for their deposits. For control modules, Ferrites, and Rubedo, any defense or survival mission nodes should do. You might also get some Argon Crystals from fallen enemies while farming control modules, although very rarely. For Gallium, Polymer Bundles, Plastids, and occasionally Tellurium, the survival mission node Ophelia in Uranus will be a good node to run. You can also get Gallium more regularly from War in Mars by defeating Lieutenant Nekros. I also made a video about defeating him, so if you're interested in that or just want to refresh your mind, I will be linking it down as well in the description and in the upper right corner. For Morphics and Salvage, you can run the survival dark sector Wahiba on Mars. You can also get Morphics from defeating Captain Vor and Mercury. For Nano Spores, Neurodes, and Mutagen samples, Tellurium in Deimos is the best place to run. You can also come across some Orokin Cells here. For neural sensors, defeating Aladvi and Themisto in Jupiter seems to be the fastest way to get them. But you can run the Dark Sector Cameria on the same planet as well. For Oxium, you can run any high-level Corpus survival mission nodes and Oxium Osprey should spawn that drop Oxium when killed. I've talked about it on the same video where I talk about Argon Crystals, so definitely check that video out. And now for the more non-traditional stuff. Cryotic is a resource that you get from activating excavators and excavation missions. Every excavator yields the same amount of cryotic regardless of planet or enemy level. Hexenon are dropped by amalgam enemies found in Jupiter. The best way to spawn amalgams is to run the disruption node Ganymede in Jupiter. And lastly, as I've mentioned earlier, Tellurium dropped by enemies from mission nodes that involve the use of Arcwings. If you don't like running Arcwing missions, Ophelia on Uranus is the best node to run to get them. I will be making a separate video regarding resources found on open world nodes. If you like the sound of that, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.